Did the defense turn the tide after yesterday's damaging testimony in the Sunny Balwani trial? It's day 11 of the Sunny Balwani trial, and I'm going to give you the highlights of today's testimony. So let me give you a couple of the areas that we're going to talk about. The defense made an apology to the judge. The judge quoted Emerson. We're going to talk about how Mark Pandori, the former lab director, did on cross-examination. Who's Edgar? Give you a scheduling update. And those darn logos. Did they come into testimony or not? Hi there, I'm Michelle Hagan. I'm a legal analyst and a former prosecutor. You may recognize me because I provided a lot of legal analysis on the Elizabeth Holmes case. Sunny Balwani is the co-defendant to Elizabeth Holmes. They were tried separately. So this video is simply my opinion. It's for educational, informational purposes. I want to know what your take is, what your analysis is. So please leave it in the comments section and do subscribe. Please do support my work. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And those that have subscribed, thank you very much for supporting my work. Okay, so just in case you popped onto this channel and you don't know who Sunny Balwani is, he was the COO of Theranos, a blood testing company that was started by Elizabeth Holmes. She has already been tried and she was found guilty of 4 counts of felony wire fraud. 1 count relating to conspiring with Balwani to defraud investors, and then 3 counts relating to defrauding individual investors. Sunny Balwani faces the exact same 12 counts that Elizabeth Holmes did, 6 counts relating to defrauding investors, 4 counts relating to defrauding patients, and 2 conspiracy counts. 1 to conspire to defraud patients, and the other one conspiring to defraud investors. All right, so let's take a look at what happened today. A lot happened. So yesterday, if you take a look at the video I did on yesterday's highlights, I talked about the defense filing a motion for miscellaneous relief. Well, guess what it was for? Those darn logos. They want to keep them out. They don't want them to come into evidence. They tried again. They tried again to keep them out. And those logos relate to, just in case you don't know, they're the logos from 3 pharmaceutical companies that Elizabeth Holmes admitted that she had misappropriated, taken the logos from Pfizer, GSK, Shearing Plow, and put them on Theranos validation reports and other reports that were provided to investors. And that was to show the investors that they had working relationships with these pharmaceutical companies, which they did not at that time. So fraud, maybe that's what the jury considered when they found Elizabeth Holmes guilty of defrauding investors. Okay, and we're going, you know me, I like to look at the actual exhibit, so we're going to look at that logo and you can make the call. So what happened with the apology with the judge is because when the defense counsel was asking the judge about keeping the logos out of evidence, the judge, keeping the logos out of evidence and doing a last minute motion was filed, I think, Monday night, and it was heard yesterday, Tuesday. And the defense didn't want to burden, quote, the court with more paper, but, you do want to make motions. If they're legitimate, you make them, right? And the judge seemed a little bit, I don't know, we'll leave it at that. So the judge asked the defense to argue what is the reason for wanting these logos in or out, keeping them out. And the defense responded, and they were dealing with they had already talked about trying to get these logos in last Friday. And it didn't look like they were going to be able to keep these logos out, and they were renewing this motion basically to ask the judge to reconsider. We want to keep these logos out. And the reason the defense wants to keep those logos out is because it's very damaging, right? It clearly shows that they were, allegedly defrauding investors when you use logos from companies or businesses that you're not really doing business with. And it gives the impression to the investor when they're reading through all these documents in the binders that you provide of all the information, that you do have those relationships with those pharmaceutical companies, which wasn't true at that time. So the defense said they were prepared to take additional court time to authenticate the records that they wanted to present. And the judge responded, "Don't threaten me," said that to the defense counsel. "You're better than that," is what the judge said to the defense counsel. Yikes. Then the defense attorney apologized. Sometimes you're in the stress of trial, and it's very stressful. I've tried a lot of cases, okay? And sometimes you definitely need to advocate for your client, okay? So the judge quoted Emerson. You got to love this guy. Judge said, no. To quote Emerson, "Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. So that's what we'll do." That's what the judge said. Yes, tomorrow is a new day, and that's today. So did the defense turn the tide and do some repair from the damage from yesterday? And I think they did. All right, so let me see if there's anything else here I wanted to talk about regarding, just to catch up on yesterday. Oh, on cross-examination of Denise Sham, the controller. The defense did score some points here, I think. They asked, there was text that Sunny had sent Elizabeth that was kind of damaging. If you look at yesterday's testimony, when Balwani said, text to Holmes, "I am responsible for everything at Theranos. All have been my decisions too. I won't transition until you are in a perfect place." Okay, that can be perceived as damaging, because if they're trying to distance Balwani from Holmes and saying Holmes is the one that was in control, it was her company, then why was Sunny saying things like, "I am responsible for everything at Theranos, and all have been my decisions too"? So you kind of see the pickle the defense is in. So here's where I think the defense made some good points. So Denise Sham, the controller, one of the allegations is the financial statements that they were misrepresenting. Balwani and Holmes were misrepresenting that Theranos was financially strong and stable. And Denise Sham testified that they had an accrued deficit of $161 million. So here's where the points come in, possibly. Denise Sham did say that she reported directly to Holmes, not to Balwani. She reported directly to Holmes. And that Balwani never forced her to skew any of the Theranos revenue reports to auditors. Okay? So again, that's helping the defense develop their theory that everybody was acting under the direction of Elizabeth Holmes. And they also, the third point that Denise Sham, that the defense got out of her in cross-examination, was regarding the venture capitalist Donald Lucas, the late venture capitalist Donald Lucas, who reviewed the Theranos financial statements in 2009, and he approved them. And he also approved to have Sunny Balwani be the vice chairman of Theranos. So again, Don Lucas, I think, was a very well-respected venture capitalist, and he reviewed some of the financial statements and, gave his approval for Sunny Balwani to be vice chairman of Theranos. All right, so that potentially could help the defense. All right, so let's get into the testimony for today, which is whatever day it is, day 11 of the Balwani trial. All right, so again, the defense wanted to keep out those logos because they say Balwani had no knowledge of that. He was given the same representations, according to the defense, that all the investors were given, same representations. And he was also, told that the blood tests were robustly validated when he joined in 2009. So they tried, but the judge let the logo in. And it came in through the new witness. The new witness is Dr. Cullen, and we'll talk about that. She testified today, too, after Pandori. All right, so let me give you the rest of the highlights here. Mark Pandori's cross-examination by the defense was, a little tense, you could say. So when the defense asked Pandori questions, Pandori repeatedly answered he didn't recall, he didn't remember, he doesn't know when certain emails were sent, he doesn't know the day he left. And this is cross-examination. And what you want to do in cross-examination is you want to test the credibility and the veracity of a witness. Their memory, do they have any bias? Do they have any reason, to want to get back at Theranos or Sunny Balwani or any of this? So you want to check and see. So the defense is asking questions. And they were asking, he resigned. Mark Pandori resigned in May 2014, and he had a conversation with Holmes and Balwani before he resigned, and he still couldn't give the exact details of, what day he left or the day he resigned. And why that's important is because there was a series of emails that Pandori sent to Holmes and Balwani, which put into question whether he was really concerned about the technology, his concern about the technology. So the defense brought up, and again, this could go to possibly impeaching the credibility of a witness, which is what you want to do on cross. So the defense was trying to point out that the week after Pandori resigned, he wrote a memo to Theranos saying that they need to double the number of Edisons to run the 3 assay tests. And when he was asked again, when he sent this memo, he said he didn't remember. So the defense pointed to the email that Pandori had sent Balwani in January. So this is prior to when he left. And again, the defense is testing the credibility of this witness, whether or not the jury should believe what this witness has to say. So they went back to an email that Pandori sent to Balwani in January 2014 when Pandori praised the caliber of the Theranos workplace. And he recalled in the email that Balwani responded by saying, "We will not fail." And Pandori responded, "I have to say, with people like this, I have no doubt." So again, if he's questioning what's going on at Theranos, here he is, praising the caliber of the Theranos employees. Okay, I get it. He was working there, right, at the time he sent this memo. So then they brought up, again, another email regarding Pandori recommending doubling the number of Edisons in the CLIA lab to do 3 types of patient blood test. And Pandori had said, quote, "They failed so frequently, we needed more of them." And the defense attorney said, "You're not saying to stop using them, are you?" And Pandori said, "No, not in this email." See, the defense is pointing out, if he's so concerned, why didn't he just say to stop using the Edison? When they're showing that he sent emails where he's saying we need more Edisons. Okay, you see the inconsistency there. So Pandori's cross-examination wrapped up, and on redirect, what did the prosecution do? So in redirect is when we have an opportunity to basically rehabilitate or to point out things, but it's only relating to the testimony that was covered on cross, all right? So the prosecutor on redirect was asking questions on Theranos, when Mark Pandori was asking questions about Theranos' proficiency tests in February 2014. He said that he was new and he was concerned that the proficiency tests were not done properly. The results raised concerns about the device's accuracy. So that's in February. He resigns in May, and then there's this January memo where he's praising people, and then he's also other emails where he's asking for more Edison machines. So, that's a question for the jury here. So Pandori said that he thought that the technology could be something more mature in assisting the public health, and it was far from that. After he met with Balwani and Holmes and resigned, Balwani told the security guard, Edgar, to walk Pandori out to his car and to search Mark Pandori's car. Pandori said the security guard walked him to his car, and he told the security guard, he told Edgar, you don't have to search my car. And Edgar responded to Mark Pandori, you're right, I don't have to search your car. So Pandori said he didn't mention his belief that the Edison, so again, they're trying to rehabilitate the question the defense asked, well, you didn't tell him to stop using the Edison. So the prosecution on a redirect says, why didn't you mention your belief that the Edisons shouldn't be used on patients in his transition memo? And he said because he had already told Balwani. He had already told Balwani and Rosendorf. And he said, I didn't have the authority to make the decision. Asking repeatedly would be akin to hitting my head against the wall. So he's saying, it wasn't worth his time to voice his concerns because they weren't listening to him. So, over multiple objections by the defense, Pandori said that Balwani and Holmes didn't give him the authority he needed as a lab director to do his job. Again, that goes to who is running the ship here. Elizabeth Holmes, Balwani, or are these lab directors given the authority to do anything? According to Pandori, he was not given the authority he needed as a lab director to do his job. Ouch. All right. So they were done with Pandori. The next witness they called was Constance Cullen. She's a former Shearing Plow Corporation scientist. So I'll call her Dr. Cullen. I assume it's a Dr. Cullen. And she testified in the Holmes case, as I recall. She testified relating to the logos and relating to whether or not they validated the technology. So let's see what happened in the Balwani case. So Cullen said that she first heard about Theranos through her boss, and she had a conversation with Elizabeth Holmes in 2009 about using the Theranos devices to validate some blood tests. If validated, Shearing Plow would use the devices on patients in clinical trial drug studies. Okay, they wanted to use it. And in fact, they did enter into a contract with Theranos in 2009. They entered into a contract worth $279,000 and to have a validation study that would take place over 5 days. And it was in May 2009, she had a due diligence meeting with Holmes, and she was asking Holmes to disclose key details about the testing devices. Here again is a pharmaceutical representative trying to find out what is the technology that they're using. And Dr. Cullen asked Holmes if she would disclose key details about the testing devices. And she doesn't recall if Balwani attended that meeting. See, that's good for the defense, right? They want to distance. They want to say Balwani didn't participate in this stuff. He wasn't involved. All right, so you have Dr. Cullen saying she doesn't recall if Balwani attended. Then she was talking to Elizabeth Holmes about, she was saying that they need the key details regarding the technology devices because it's incumbent on us to have a good understanding of how the instruments work. We were not able to get that understanding from Ms. Holmes. At each attempt to ask other individuals, there were other scientists from Theranos at this meeting, Ms. Holmes always interjected a response on their behalf. Again, that goes to showing that Elizabeth was the one who was controlling everything, right? Allegedly, could be argued. And then in June, so the month later, June 2009, Dr. Cullen asked for the data from Holmes because we considered it an outstanding item. We had paid for the work and we wanted closure. After receiving it, a Theranos worker asked Dr. Cullen in December if she would discuss the technology further, but she said that they were swamped with a merger. I think they merged with Merck, if I remember. And then Cullen said that she never had any further discussions after that with Holmes. After December 2009, she had no other discussions with Theranos. We weren't interested in pursuing the technology, and there was a lot of work that was a lot higher priority. So the prosecutor showed the jury the so-called infamous emails that Holmes had sent Walgreens in 2010 and attached validation reports, including a report with the shearing plow logo. And I'll show you that exhibit. Over multiple objections by the defense, Dr. Cullen said that Theranos did not ask permission to use the shearing plow logo. They didn't have permission to use it. And Sunny Balwani's on trial for defrauding investors. And on those reports that were provided to investors, there's the shearing plow logo. Not to mention there's the GSK and the Pfizer on some of these other reports. So, prosecution just established they didn't have permission to use that logo. Why were they using it? To make the impression that they had relationships? We'll see how the jury takes it. So on cross-examination, Dr. Cullen said that she never validated, the shearing plow never validated the Theranos technology. So again, no permission to use the logo, and they didn't validate the technology, which is what is in if you look at the indictment video, you will see one of the allegations in the indictment is that Balwani and Holmes represented that pharmaceutical companies examined and validated their technology. And here's Dr. Cullen from Shearing Plow saying otherwise, that they never validated Theranos technology. That's not good. Not good. All right. And on cross-examination, Dr. Cullen acknowledged that she never spoke with Balwani. That's good for the defense. And doesn't remember ever meeting Balwani. That's good. This goes to the distancing, right? Balwani wasn't involved. So, and the defense also pointed out in these meetings, in that due diligence meeting with Holmes, it was among the scientists. And again, Balwani wasn't present. So that's another good point. And then they pointed out in a March 2010 email, Holmes had congratulated Dr. Cullen because she got promoted. And Cullen thanked her in response and said she, quote, asked a scientist from my group to reach out to discuss the specifics of the validation. So if Dr. Cullen, okay, we can kind of think about maybe what the defense is getting to here. If Dr. Cullen didn't validate and was concerned about this technology, didn't have all the details on it, why is she sending a response to Elizabeth Holmes by saying she asked a scientist from my group to reach out to discuss? Right? If you think that there's a problem with the technology, why are you referring someone else? Maybe I don't know, maybe that's what the defense will argue. But again, that's a question mark, right? And again, Balwani wasn't present. and there was no emails presented between Balwani and Dr. Cullen. So on redirect by the prosecution, she again said that Schering-Plough never validated Theranos technology. All right, so that's the highlights. And to let you know, the next witness is Daniel Edlin. And I think he was the product manager at Theranos. He was also, I think he went to Duke with Christian Holmes, Elizabeth Holmes' brother. And I think he's going to be giving testimony like he did in the Holmes case regarding the logo. And I'll actually show you in this exhibit that I'm going to show you next. He's involved in this. But he'll talk about the fake demos that they gave to the investors, and there's a whole lot of testimony that he will be giving. So that's going to start. Again, there's no trial on Friday. Here's the scheduling update. No trial on Friday. He'll start on Tuesday with his direct examination. Okay, and I also noticed that the trial is scheduled out until, till May 17th at this point. So we have a ways to go. So it's going to get even more interesting. All right, so let me show you. What I want to show you here was the logos. So this is an email, and you see it's it's to Daniel Edlin from Elizabeth Holmes, and it's June 2014. And again, this is all around the time where the investors, they're starting to take in money from those 6 investors. And so this is what's going on at this time. So anyway, Elizabeth sends an email to Daniel Edlin regarding the Roger Parloff. And who's Roger Parloff? He's the Fortune, I think it was Fortune magazine, that wrote the big article praising Theranos and talking about Theranos. And they were providing, Roger Parloff was asking for information from Theranos so he could write up his story. So we're going to scroll through this and I'll show you. So Elizabeth says to Daniel regarding Roger Parloff, what can be disclosed as devices. So they're trying to figure out what they're going to tell. You know, they have concerns around trade secrets, right? Those trade secrets. I'll let you read this, but here's where Daniel sends to Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Please see below the attached Roger Parloff action items. So they're listing all the things that they need to gather. So I thought you might want to just take a look at this. And here's my question to you. Who's missing here? So we see action item. We see who the resource is. So we see our lab form. You look under the resource column and it says Daniel Y. That's Daniel Young. Okay, but all these items you can go through, and all you science geeks out there can take a look at this. All right, I'll get to the point that is interesting. So if you see here, you just scroll through, EAH is Elizabeth Holmes. EAH, and you see here they still need to give to Roger Parloff quotes from pharmaceutical companies, right? They need to provide information to Parloff, you know, have they been validated by pharmaceutical companies? What are the quotes? So, and it looks like it's Elizabeth's job to do that. So who's missing here? Scrolling through, guess who's missing? For starters, I don't see Sunny Balwani assigned to any of these tasks. So that's interesting. All right, so here is, again, Christian Holmes is Elizabeth Holmes's brother. He's also working at the company. And he's doing some of these task items to provide information to Roger Parloff, the reporter. So he says, Elizabeth, please see the notes below in the attached for PM action items. I have the binder. I am keeping this locked in the cabinet next to my desk. Let me know if there are any questions. Thanks, Christian. The binder he's referring to is the binder that they provided investors with all their information, you know, from the PowerPoint presentations to their financial statements to those darn logos on those validation reports. So here are the quotes from the pharmaceutical companies. I thought you might want to take a look at this. There's GSK talking about the Theranos lab, John Hopkins, Pfizer, and here's Schering-Plough, which is where Dr. Cullen worked, regarding the assay validation reports, and that's where they put the logo on the validation report. You can go ahead and read. Here's the GSK. I'll just scroll through this, and now I will get to the logo. So this is Daniel again to Christian. Hi, Elizabeth. Please see below for the updated aggregated list if you have any guidance. So again, Balwani's not in the picture here. This is all about Elizabeth and this team of people, right? Again, here's more action items. I don't see Balwani's initials anywhere. Okay. And then Daniel says, I have also attached the PowerPoint deck previously sent to Roger. Okay, so this also goes to one of the allegations is they provided fraudulent reports or made misstatements to the media and to journalists so that they would publish these articles that then they could turn around and use these articles, like the Fortune article, and provide it to the investors, which is what several investors testified to in the Holmes case, that they did review that article written by Roger Parloff. All right, so here's the PowerPoint. Look, here it is. Here's the Schering-Plough logo on the left, which Dr. Cullen testified that they had no authority to use, and which Elizabeth Holmes admitted that she put these logos on this Theranos report. And I'll show you the next page so you can see that it was put on each and every page of this report. So, interesting day, very interesting day. But I do think the defense, scored some points, showing that Balwani wasn't present, right? Showing that he wasn't active in some of this. And my question to you is this. If the defense is saying that Balwani had no knowledge that these logos, like all the representations that were made to him, the materials, the reports, the validation reports, and whether or not the technology was robustly validated, that was all done before he showed up. Again, the defense is saying it was her company. All of this was set up before he walked in the door. Well, who's going to testify to that? Who's going to testify that he had no knowledge? Is Balwani going to take the stand? We're going to see if he takes the stand. All right, so tell me what you think. Do you think that they scored some points? Tell me what you think, if any of that is interesting. I mean, do you think they made any points there to distance Balwani from what Elizabeth Holmes was doing and to discredit, Mark Pandori? Because Mark Pandori is the one, who said that he had told them that there were problems, and he told Balwani there were problems and things weren't done. So, again, Daniel Edlin is up on Tuesday. That's when the trial resumes. And I do have a favor to ask you. I'm thinking about looking into the lawsuit. I know, Hollywood. Looking into the lawsuit between Johnny Depp, the $50 million defamation lawsuit Johnny Depp filed against his ex-wife, Amber Heard. And it's very interesting legally to me. I'm a law geek. So it's interesting. And besides, I could teach you a lot about defamation. So if you're interested, because it's a lot of work, I got to dig through, because she's suing him too. In Virginia, of all places, this is taking place. And the trial is starting on Monday. I think it's fascinating. So if you want me to do it, please put it in the comments. Let me know. All right, so that's it. So please do subscribe. Thank you very much for supporting my work by subscribing. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for watching this video. Hit the like button, hit the bell notification, share, and do leave a comment. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe now.